Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. It truly, truly is. Before we get started, let me give you my usual disclaimer that this video is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as fact. Please always do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Next, if you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so. It really helps me out. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, so this is True Crime at Christmas Time, Day 8. Today we're talking about 16-year-old Sarah Louise Yarborough. Sarah was born on June 12th, 1975 in Portland, Oregon to Tom and Lori Yarborough. She has two brothers, and the family would eventually move to Federal Way in Washington State. She was an honor student and a member of the drill team in her sophomore year of high school. She has also been on 2 educational outreach trips to New Zealand. Her passions in life were art, ballet, and traveling. She has been described as a person who loved life, loved people, loved reading, always had a book in her hand, was an excellent student, and was extremely excited for college. Okay. Just like all videos, now the fun ends. Should I say, just like all my videos, now the fun ends. Saturday, December 14th, 1991, Sarah drove into the parking lot of Federal Way High School to get on the bus with her drill team to perform at an event. Believing she was supposed to be at the school between 8 and 8:30. When in actuality, she was supposed to be at the school between 9 and 9:30. So she had about 45 minutes to kill at this point. And even though there wasn't anybody in the parking lot at the time, there were students and staff in the school for other activities, and there were people that were using the sports field, and there were people that were running the track. So there were people around. 20 to 30 minutes after Sarah arrived at the school, 2 12-year-old boys spotted a man walking out of some brush. They would make eye contact, and then the man would turn away from them. The boys thought the man was a little odd, but they kept walking anyway. Then a very short time after this, they find Sarah's body. They run to the one kid's house, and they tell his dad. And they think the person that they saw got into a Chevy Nova. So the dad jumps in his car to go look for him, but he decides to stop and ask somebody to call police. So officers arrive at the scene about an hour after Sarah's been gone. When they found Sarah, she was wearing her drill team skirt, sweater, and sneakers. Her blue jacket, underwear, bra, and socks were placed neatly next to her body. Then when officers took a closer look at Sarah's body, they determined that she had been with her own stockings. Crime scene analysts would find semen on her jacket, underwear, bra, gloves, and skirt. Her autopsy results would show that she was not R-worded, thankfully, and that the semen on the clothes that were next to her body did not show up until the clothes were placed there. So, okay, how do I say this? Basically, I think what they're saying is that after she was gone, he kind of relieved himself on her clothes. It would also show that she suffered blunt force trauma to her face, which led police to believe that she was knocked out before she even knew what was happening. Her actual cause of death was from the stockings. A jogger would come forward to police and tell them that he saw a man and a woman in the brush while he was jogging. The man was white, about 20 years old, 6 feet tall, and had long blonde hair. He said that the man was on top of the woman and that her skirt was pulled up. He thought that the encounter was consensual, so he just kept going to give them some privacy. Plus, I'm guessing that he felt a little awkward at that moment. I'm quite sure that afterwards, after he found out what truly was going on, that he felt extreme guilt immediately. I mean, how could you not? I guess some people could not. September 27th, 2019, after 4,000 tips and leads, 200 to 300 possible suspects, and 27 years later, detectives get a call from the criminal genealogist about a possible lead. When they follow that lead, it takes them to a 55-year-old man named Patrick Leon Nicholas. He's a winner. Patrick was no stranger to crime and had already done at least 2 stints in prison. In 1983, he approached a girl in her car and he threatened her with a knife. He forced her to take her clothes off and walk with him towards the river. Luckily, she was able to escape by jumping into the river and swimming away. After the girl got away, Patrick withdrew money from his bank account, bought a plane ticket, and fled the state the exact same day. He was later caught and pled guilty to attempted first-degree R-word, and he was released from jail in 1987. Okay, so remember, this is 1987. They didn't do DNA like they do now, and that sucks big time. Big time. You can't get away with that crap nowadays, people, so remember that. Don't do any shady shit. In 1993, just 2 years after Sarah's death, Patrick Nicholas was arrested again, this time on suspicion of touching his 6-year-old stepdaughter. The case was eventually pled down to 4th-degree misdemeanor, and for this reason, he was not required to submit a DNA sample. So, how did they crack this case? Okay. The lead in this case came from Patrick's brother Edward, because the apple does not always fall far from the tree. Edward is a registered offender from a previous R-word conviction, and it was his DNA in the system that gave genealogists the tip they needed to crack this case wide fucking open. Detectives began watching Nicholas outside of a strip mall. He came out to smoke a cigarette, tossed a couple butts on the floor, dropped a napkin on the ground. Detectives scooped them up and sent them to their crime lab to be matched with the DNA from the original crime scene. Spoiler alert, it's a match. A few days later, officers found him at a bar named Nashville's, and he was arrested. He has pled not guilty and is being held on $5 million bail.
This is what the suspect looked like back in 1991, according to a then 12-year-old boy who helped create this sketch.
Seeing evil face to face like that and knowing that it's real. And
this now grown man doesn't want Cairo 7 to identify him because his own children still don't know about the trauma he experienced in December 1991 when he and a friend, both 12, discovered the murdered body of 16-year-old Sarah Yarborough and got a good look at the suspect.
He stood up in those bushes. He was probably about 30, maybe 25 yards away from us. At that point, we couldn't see where Sarah was yet, so we walked the same way. No cause for serious alarm yet until we got close enough to where we could see, and then we ran back to my house and called the police. It broke me as a young man, you know, having to come to grips with that. It's a very, very horrible thing.
After the brutal discovery, the boy helped an artist create the first 2 suspect sketches and lived in fear until earlier this month when 55-year-old Patrick Leon Nicholas was arrested and charged with the of Sarah Yarborough.
That's an amazing amount of peace given to me.
Were you afraid of him growing up?
Oh, absolutely.
You were in court last week when he appeared. Why did you go?
I had to see that man in handcuffs in custody with my own two eyes.
Was that the man you saw that day in 1991?
Absolutely. I have no doubt about it. It's like we've been carrying around this big weight for all these years and finally have been able to set it down. Like, that's how I felt when I left that courtroom after seeing him in custody.
The man told me for years detectives would bring him photo montages of potential suspects, hoping that he could identify somebody. And he said he always felt bad that he couldn't. He said he didn't until he was in court last week and saw Nicholas, and he said, that's the guy. That's how certain he is.
Detectives have since put Nicholas's DNA into CODIS and are running his DNA with other unsolved crimes to see if he could be responsible for any other victims out there.
For years, Sarah's mom lived with the pain of her daughter's death, but also not knowing who killed her. She thanks detectives for not giving up.
I was really surprised. I wondered perhaps if the person was no longer living. I just seemed unbelievable to me that he would still be around. So, but I have to say that the detectives have never given up.
Then, just 3 days before what would have been Sarah's graduation day, her class raised $40,000 to put a bench outside of Federal Way High School in her honor. Along with her name, the bench also included a copy of Sarah's book bag, her school books, her ballet slippers, and a replica of her dog, Libby, that sits on the ground with his front paws on the bench. Oh. May this poor girl rest in peace. The world was a much better place when she was in it, and it seems to me that she would have done amazing things if she had been given the opportunities that we all deserve. It's terrible. Don't be a shit person. Okay, guys, if you're still here, thank you. I appreciate you so very much. If you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so. And until next time, stay safe out there.